What's up, guys? So we did totally spend an hour yapping without this being recorded because I do dumb shit occasionally. But welcome to another episode of The Arena. We're going to talk about John Fetterman and everything regarding his health and a lot of the things that have been coming out, which are very sad. We have a new pope. He's from America. Let's
USA.
go. USA chants in the chat. And India and Pakistan are going to war, which is very interesting given the fact that I was born 2 hours away from the border. And we're also going to talk about what I think is like just like a humanitarian issue in the United States, but also just like a deeply bad issue politically, which is the crisis with younger men and how it is festering and reaching a like critical mass right now in this country, and we need to talk about it and we need to address it. I got Oliver and Conrad with me as always. Sorry that I probably extended our work for by like an hour, but how's it going, guys?
What's up, gamer? Long time no see. No, I'm good, honestly. Very fun show today we have actually. Second time going over it. Honestly, kind of thankful for it a little bit. Did not hit on all the points I wanted to, but we're still kicking.
The cycle continues.
Cycle continues. Conrad?
Overall, things are going well. We got a little bit of a rehearsal there, so I think we can refine our points further, but overall, doing well, doing well. I think we'll have a good show.
Me too. Let's start off with our fun news story and the only one that won't be hard to talk about. We have a new pope. The
Dopo.
first American pope ever, from Chicago, a White Sox fan, a Bears fan, went to Villanova, so hopefully, the Knicks, good for them. 220
Oh,
point
dog, he
comebacks.
hates the Knicks. I
Maybe
can
that's
tell you right now.
divine intervention. He probably is a Bulls fan. But yeah, I am not Catholic and I don't know a lot. This was actually like the first conclave that I remember. It was a very cool process being like a spectator. And like I said earlier, I bet this is a really cool fucking day for Catholics in the United States. And I personally am happy that it's a pope that does not like the current administration because I was afraid that that would happen. But I'd love to open the floor and get y'all's thoughts on everything regarding him.
Well, the very first thing I want to say is the new pope, according to his Wikipedia page, I'm pretty sure, is a Cubs fan. So,
That is
so
misinformation, actually, Conrad.
really,
That is
really,
misinformation. Yeah,
he's a Sox fan.
he's a Sox fan. One of his
Damn,
people came out and said, I don't know where this information of him being a Cubs fan is. He is a Sox fan confirmed.
damn.
Fun
Well, you
fact.
know what? Salute, like White Sox have been a little rough for a few years, but damn. Wow. How did that get on his page?
I don't know. I mean, someone being from Chicago, usually, and to be fair, usually they're a Cubs fan, but no, apparently he's a Sox fan. My man's been the guaranteed rate field. Shout out them.
I will say guaranteed rates field, their food much better than Wrigley's. At least when I lived in Chicago. At least when I
Yes.
lived in
I've
Chicago.
never been to guaranteed rate fuel, but I listen. If we're talking about Chicago, I want to make a very quick point. Wrigley Field is kind of overrated.
I'll agree with that. I think it's the historical value of it is why you go. But overall, they did a lot to the neighborhood, but overall, yeah, I'll concur with that.
I think it would have been
Overall,
oh, sorry. I was
no,
just
no, go
gonna
ahead, go ahead.
add that I think we would have had a better time at Wrigley Field had it not been 18 degrees outside.
I had a great time. I would like to let you know. Kyle Tucker knows what he did. Back
Oh
to the
man.
Pope, though.
Back to the Pope. Um, Overall, good day. Good day. I don't think it should be that surprising to people that for Catholicism, maybe is a little bit more progressive. That being said, there's still a lot of work I think the Catholic Church can do on social issues. But it should come as no surprise that in terms of Catholicism, he's a little bit more liberal. 80% of, I believe, the cardinals, they were appointed by Pope Francis, who uh, was very focused on the poor, the displaced, uh, humanitarian efforts. I think, right, Pope Francis called the bishop or cardinal in Gaza like every single day, check in, see how he was doing. Um, so I'm excited to see that continue in the Catholic Church. The concern for the poor, for the displaced, for those who have none. So um, I think we discussed this a little bit earlier, but it, it's change doesn't happen overnight, and that moving, we're just moving a little bit more progressive as it goes along. And it's hard with such a traditional institution.
Exactly. I mean, you hit on every point that I think I wanted to hit on, and it's like, yeah, no one's gonna move to the future without some kicking and screaming, and obviously conservatives, JD Vance in particular, not the biggest fan of this new pope, but I mean, I think it's a great pick. I mean, obviously, it's Catholic Church not great on LGBTQ issues, women's rights, but still, I mean, it's not a bad pick. I mean, not a win, but not a loss. I'll take it.
Anything that makes JD Vance's day a little worse, I'm a fan of.
Exactly.
It's really interesting. A big thing about becoming Pope is the name they choose. Pope Leo, he's going to be the 14th who has used that name. Pope Leo the 13th, he was a reformer, and he emphasized justice, labor, and the church's role in the modern world. So, um, again, going back to I like where this is going. I think he's going to be a champion of the people, and it's going to be interesting if he focuses more on workers' issues as well too, based upon his predecessor.
And I think it's so unique that they like at this time of like American history, they picked an American pope. I mean, just like with Donald Trump winning a second term, America being divided. I mean, it's very interesting that they picked him. I mean, and I wonder if it was intentional. I mean, obviously, what it took like 5 rounds, but still, I think it's a very key moment in American history, and it just more shit just keeps happening, right? Noah, you want to add anything?
I'm gonna be so honest. I think the only thing that I can add, and I mentioned this when I entered the topic, I had a really fun time learning about the conclave and like the traditions and everything and the process that goes into making a decision. Um, I think it's really cool when like traditions are kept like this, and it's really cool seeing like how happy and excited people in the crowd were, and like he came out onto the balcony and like he was getting teared up and emotional, and that was just a really cool moment for society, and I think we kind of needed that right now.
It
I
was it
think
was
so too.
it was really interesting watching it because it was like almost like a rock concert. Just all the different flags, people waving at the cameras. Um, I do believe, no, I think you brought this up before we were recording. Um, I think it was of a benefit that he has dual citizenship and he has ties to another country, Peru. In his introduction address, he spoke Italian and he spoke Spanish, no English, which is I think he is going to be, he's a polyglot too. I think he speaks a few other languages and he reads German and Latin. So again, I don't think nothing crazy is going to happen Reformation wise. I don't think there's going to be like a crazy amount of progress. Um, and I don't think you can expect that out of the Catholic Church, but it is going to be interesting too to see the backlash within MAGA. Because I think in terms of the hierarchy of Christianity within the United States, specifically within the MAGA voting base, I don't really think Catholics are well trusted compared to um, evangelicals. So that may be, I don't want to say a dividing factor, but
It
that's
is.
just something as it pertains to American politics, something to watch out for in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it last recording. Shout out Noah. I'm joking, bro. But yeah, no, I mean, Conrad brought up the point. I'll bring it up this time. I mean, Catholics are a lot more they're a lot more willing to vote for the other side. And I tried to bring up this point too. Evangelicals genuinely do not like Catholics. I mean, it is not. Conrad brought it up. But it is a dislike. They don't view Catholics as Christian. You tell someone you're Christian and they're like, oh, you're Catholic. It's like, yeah, you're not Christian. You're Catholic, and it's very funny how even in religious circles like Christianity, how separated we are. You go to a state like Alabama, where there's basically no Catholics, they're all evangelicals, or all Baptists, stuff like that. They people make up their own picture of what a Catholic is. And there's a woman on TikTok who was talking about like, oh yeah, I'm from New York, I grew up Catholic, and every time I do something weird in my small little Alabama town I live in, they're like, oh, you Yankee Catholics, you're so weird. It's just so interesting, and I'm curious to see how the next couple of years pan out because of the American Pope. But God bless the USA. America on top. Catholicism is back, baby.
Raw. It's just like I know that there are people that heard that it was an American Pope and started getting so happy, and then they realized that he was a decent human being, and they immediately went, "Oh fuck, let's say mean things about him on the internet."
Dude, what
Yeah,
like just in the beginning of all this, when it was like empathy is a sin, I was like, oh man, we're in for a ride, aren't we?
Yep.
I mean, even before then, we were in for it, but as soon as empathy was anything but something to be celebrated,
We were cooked.
hooked.
exactly.
But
Speaking of empathy,
Oh God, yeah.
yeah,
Do you mind if I take it from here?
yeah, from sure.
So last week a New York Magazine post or article came out about John Fetterman and his mental state, and it just caught my attention. The reason I got so involved, that's right when I started getting more involved in organizing, starting to learn about stuff, was because of the John Fetterman race. And, I asked Noah and Conrad if we're able to cover this story, and, they gave me the go ahead. And it just talks about how John Fetterman has basically never recovered from his stroke in 2022. And I think it's just so sad just going over the details, like how he's just degrading. I don't know if that's the correct term, but I mean, he'll eat fast food every day. His staff is just like the dude has changed overnight. He, one of the big stories that they mentioned, just him going on the Bill Maher show in California, taking a red eye, driving back to Braddock, Pennsylvania from I think BWI, which is in right outside of Baltimore, and him getting into a major car accident. And it's just scary to see not someone you care about because obviously I don't know who he is, but someone you look up to. I mean, I have a John Fetterman shirt right here. I was a big supporter of his. Like I spent money to buy this shirt. I made phone calls. The reason I got involved with the Pennsylvania Democrats back in 2000, well, back last year, was because of John Fetterman. I mean, he's the reason I had the confidence to apply for the job in Pennsylvania. And just seeing someone you look up to just fall and struggle, it's just sad to see. And I think that I would love to hear what you guys' thoughts are on this, but it's just overall very sad.
I think the fall from, I don't want to say the fall from grace is hard. It is very hard. We talked a bit about it's like mourning missed potential. He was supposed to be that attack dog for the Democrats, the unapologetic advocate for the working class. And I don't want to say it's disappointing in light of everything that's come out of what could have been, but I would be remiss to say it's not a little disappointing. John Fetterman, I believe Mayor of Braddock, did a lot of good things for the community. That's a suburb outside of Pittsburgh. So I knew a lot about John Fetterman. I worked in at a children's hospital in Pittsburgh. So we kind of saw him rise in Pennsylvania politics. Really excited when he ran. Unfortunately, I lived in North Carolina at the time. I most likely would have voted for him uh, had I been in Pennsylvania. I think actually I sent him an Instagram message like, "Hey, it would have been cool to vote for you." Um, but it's it's really sad. Um, a lot of missed potential, but at the same time too, you just feel bad for the human. You feel that empathy. You feel that sympathy as well too, and you feel bad for his family. You feel bad for his staff, and you feel really, really bad for the man. Obviously, he's hurting. He had that episode of depression right as he got elected. I put in the show notes about what is it, a third of people suffer from depression after a stroke. You can have issues with anxiety as well too. Um, just overall, I hope the man gets the help he needs. But clearly something is not right.
Yeah, I like just echoing a lot of what you guys said. I think more than anything, you feel for the human beings involved and like what they're going through right now. Even his staffers, the people that have been with him through this meteoric rise through the Democratic Party in Pennsylvania politics in particular, the people that have spent so much time in so many stressful situations with each other, like me and Oliver are damn near best friends, and we have not known each other for a year. A lot of that is because we were put through multiple stressful situations that like we dealt with together as a group, which is why we're so close. So just like, feeling for those people. And then like you said, Connor, like a third of people after a stroke go through depression. They also go through anxiety, which we've seen with like him being so paranoid about certain things. And he has not been taking good care of himself. He has, been skipping out on blood tests that the doctors wanted him to do post Walter Reed, and just medicines and stuff like that as well, even before the stroke with his AFib. I just, he
Hell,
was such a cool,
just even eating fast food every day. I
yeah,
mean, it's just little shit apparently that it's just so sad. I
yeah,
mean, it's
like
just so fucking sad.
I was so fucking excited to vote for him in 2022. Like he was the perfect candidate, like the one that I still think Democrats are looking for. Someone that will stand up for all of the right things
That's
and also just like absolutely fight for them.
Yes, exactly. And I think you rephrased it so much better. John Fetterman, in my head, if he never had the stroke, if he is still that guy from that 2022 primary, the guy fighting for labor rights, the guy's trying to make your average Pennsylvania better. He's our front runner. That's our presidential candidate right there. It's no fucking question. I mean, I worked in Meadville, which is like 50 miles south of Erie. Dude, he fucking visited Meadville, a city of 12,000 people, county of about 33,000 people. I think I'm way off on that one, but it's crazy. He genuinely cares for the state of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but it's so crazy. I mean, they had a fucking the Erie office. You weren't there for this, Noah, but they had a life-size cutout of the man. He's huge. I don't know.
That's so sick.
I think during his rise too, and it's on your shirt, Oliver, where every county, every vote, was it? Yep, every county, every vote. And I will say, like, as he was campaigning, whether you agreed or disagreed with the man, I think he had the apparent you knew he was going to fight for you. That's what he made people feel like. And I think that's why he was so popular and there was so much hope around him. Again, we hope he gets the help he needs, whatever form that looks in. At this point, though, I feel like we're in an interesting spot with, I mean, coming from both Biden, there was concern about Fetterman after he did have his stroke, again running against Dr. Oz, where, you know, maybe it is time for a pressure campaign and trying to put it back into the hands of the Pennsylvania voters. Democrats taking a stand and saying, hey, um, we don't have the leadership you deserve right now. We have messed up on that before. We stand to lose something, but Pennsylvanians, you deserve better, and you guys deserve to elect a representative who can best represent you. And I think maybe it's time to have some talks about that pressure campaign starting to maybe get him to resign if he is not mentally or emotionally there.
Yeah, and it's so you're 100% correct. I think it's such a similar situation to what we had with Joe Biden last year, where it's we know he needs to step aside, and I don't want it to be the same situation as Joe Biden, but I think if he's refusing to step aside, I think it's going to have to be that situation again. And I think the first step is just get all the county chairs in Pennsylvania. Just tell them to step aside. If that doesn't work, then I mean, yeah, I don't know. But I think, and it's going to suck too. I mean, Pennsylvania is such a fucking competitive seat that having a senator have to step aside would just, as an organizer, that'd fucking suck, man. We have to divert a shit ton of money to Pennsylvania now, but you got to do what you got to do, unfortunately. And I hate it, but just for his sake, his family's sake, his staff's sake, I think it's just ultimately the right decision.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think, not to, I don't think politics should be like at the forefront, but even if we talk about that, if next year's the year where we do like, once again, for his sake, not for political gain, nothing like that, just like as human being to human being, I don't think John Fetterman should just be working at all right now, whatever job it is. But 26 is probably like the best year for it to happen, right? It's still like unbelievably disheartening that it is happening, but if it has to happen, it's
And
not a bad time for it to happen.
exactly. I mean, even like I'm sorry for interrupting Conrad. I mean, just even Shapiro's on the ballot. Worst comes to worst, Shapiro can carry the margin of whatever Democrat they choose. If it's like, unless if it's like a Malcolm Kenyatta, we're gonna win that seat. Like, ideally, we'd put a fucking Chris Deluzio or Connor Lamb, but I think you're 100% correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think, and again, not to talk about politics or the appearances, right? I think there's a struggling man at the center of this. However, I think people desire accountability right now more than ever. And I think being more proactive as opposed to reactive, especially as these stories are mounting and we are seeing a disturbing trend, um, I think it's okay to be honest and be like, hey, we need a change at with this right now. And we're okay to risk losing something, but it's the right thing to do. I think standing up for the right thing to do is never the wrong thing.
Exactly. And well, moving from one depressing topic to another, Noah, take the reins.
Yeah, so the since 2 weeks now, we have been talking about me in particular. Like, I figured this was going to happen. I'm kind of surprised it took 2 weeks for it to happen. But on April 22nd, 2025, in Pahalgam, a tourist town in Indian controlled Kashmir, there was a terrorist attack done by militants who we don't really know who they are as of right now. No big terrorist group has taken responsibility or taken credit for the act. Um, the Pakistani government denies that they have anything to do with it, but they also haven't offered like concrete proof. To their credit, they do say that like oh, we were telling China and Iran and like any other country to like come in and do an independent investigation if they wanted to. China and Iran are probably not the two most countries that you should lead with in that situation because they are your two biggest allies in the region. Um, but outside of that, since then, there's been a lot of pressure from the Indian people for Prime Minister Modi to retaliate against Pakistan for this act. Obviously, Pakistan and India hate each other to death, stemming from the partition and how that entire thing was carried out by Great Britain when they left the country in 1945. But just because of all the feelings stemming from that and the multiple wars fought between each other in the 20th century, there's a lot of bad blood through generations. We are literally like, there's a brainwashing that happens in each country to get you to hit the other side, basically. And right now, both countries are being led by people that are in power and popular in part because they tout the religion that is predominant in that country. Pakistan is being led by a very pro-Muslim leader. Uh, India, we all know like Narendra Modi is like extremely Hindu nationalist. And I think they don't want to look weak. This is very popular in their countries. So since Tuesday, when India retaliated with 9 different strikes in 3 cities in Pakistan, one of them being in Pakistani-controlled Kashmir, two of them being in the Pakistani state of Punjab, which I believe this is the first time, like since the dawn of the new century, that we've done anything in Pakistani-controlled Punjab. Pakistan has tried to respond. According to most credible sources, or at least what the Indian government is saying, the air defense systems were able to dispel most of the Pakistani attacks. However, the airport in Jammu, which is another big city in Indian controlled Kashmir, there was a lot of bombings taking place at the airport there, which once again the Indian government says that it was a light fire, like nothing happened. Both countries are like very much propagandizing, or at least saying that the other country isn't being successful in anything that they're doing to attack us. Apart from like missiles and drones, there's been fighting just like across the border. The Pakistani military targeted this. They targeted the Sikh temple. Where they killed 10 civilians inside the Indian part. And a little bit more detail about the terrorist attack, I forgot to add just because I think the context is extremely necessary, is that these militants came up to a tour group and basically asked them to prove that they were Muslim. And the people that weren't, 25 Hindu men, were shot point blank in the head, execution style. One person from Kashmir, a Kashmiri man that tried to step in to stop them, was also shot and killed, leading to a death total of 26. Just a on all sides, every single facet, it is just so 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 sad. I know even like anti-Modi people in India were like devastated by it, not only by the loss of life and heinousness of the crime, but tourism had just started to come back into that region because since 2019 there had been relative stability, and like that kind of quasi peace situation that they were in with their neighbor was shattered for both sides. And now it looks like we are at the point where like we're really close to all out war just breaking out between the two neighbors. And so far, the United States government has not spoken too much about it, which I think is a major misstep. And I think they are not doing what they could diplomatically to fix the problem. Trump made one statement, which was, typical Donald Trump fashion, not knowing anything about the situation, kind of just yapping. He insinuated that India and Pakistan have been fighting each other for hundreds and thousands of years. That's simply not true. They haven't been around for 100 years even. And then Marco Rubio has been in communication with people on both sides. Um, However, I think that the United States can flex what muscle it has left, given who our current president is. We still have some, and do what you can, pull whatever levers you have to get these two into a building before two nuclear armed countries that fucking despise each other, and every single person in those countries is like basically brainwashed and trained at a young age to hate the other side. Um, Stop them from fighting each other. But I know I've been yapping a lot trying to give some context. Obviously, this is a very close to home situation for me, But I want to open the floor to Conrad and Oliver.
Yeah, just overall, I think um, our approach is diplomatically not great. Looking at a Reuters article where JD Vance is basically saying, "Hey, the war between India and Pakistan will be none of our business." Um, if the past 5 years have showed us anything, it's that we are way more interconnected than we care to admit, as evidenced by the supply chain disruptions during COVID. So if at the very least, and this is being totally insensitive to the the lives of uh, civilians in Pakistan and India, but like this does impact Americans, and it is in our best interest to get these two countries into a room together to settle this diplomatically and to not escalate further, especially since these two countries have nuclear weapons. Um, we are supposed to be the world leader. Our commander in chief is supposed to be, what is it? The master. Yeah, he's supposed to have perfected the art of the deal. Like, I don't want to say I want to appeal to his ego, but like, yeah, let's get something done between these two countries. If you're gonna claim and you're gonna do anything in your presidency, to mitigate the risk of nuclear war, that's something that's pretty noble that I think anybody can get behind, that everybody can get behind. So it's all in our best interest to be as well informed as we can. And my bad, dude, my bad.
Oh, you're good.
Um, and to have, I don't want to say skin in the game, not like boots on the ground, but we need to have we need to be informed in this, and like this does matter and this will affect us if it does get out of hand.
One thing I want to add real quick before you go, Oliver, and sorry for jumping in, but two things that bother me. And like, yes, do not put boots on the ground. Do not do any of that. However, from a pure, like, self-fulfilling interest to Donald Trump, if these two countries start fighting, that shit, they haven't fought since like the 70s. That shit is going to be drawn out. Um, you're already going to lose real badly next year as like a Republican, but 2028 is looking very easy for us to win. If two nuclear powers end up in a fight, it will do the same thing that Ukraine did for Biden. um and unlike you right now, like, you can be like, oh, it's like Conrad said, it's extremely noble to not want war to happen. But if your strategy is like you're just not going to address it and you'll be like, oh, they'll figure it out, that ain't like, it's not going to do anything. And then the other thing is just like news coverage of this has been like extremely shaky at best. Like the European news sources, Sky News, BBC, from like, mostly England, they've done a really good job. They've like The Guardian has had like a live feed. BBC has had like a live feed up on their websites for the most part. But new pope gets elected today, and that's a huge story. Like, I understand the conclave is like this really cool, big, really watched event, but like, once again, you're doing nothing to dispel the notion that there are some stories that are more important to like the viewing public than others, and you're not going to prioritize things that genuinely are like a life in that situation right now.
Exactly. No, I mean it 100% everything you said was right. And I mean, just going back to Donald Trump, I mean, the dude was I mean, yeah, one of the reasons he won independence is just he talked about he is the peacemaker. I mean, I'm going to bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours. I mean, dude, bring peace. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest global issues according to you for the last 1,000 years. Come on, man. If you're the ultimate peacemaker, please do whatever you can and bring peace to this region.
And I don't want to wrap in a this topic up, but like not taking an action is by default taking an action. Like if you are not going to do what you can to mitigate a nuclear war, like that is a default action. It's a choice. It is a choice you're making.
No, exactly. And like we talked about, like there are actual people that are losing their lives and their lives are being disrupted. Like in my hometown, imposed blackout, like schools are shutting down almost everywhere. It's just it's really sad and like, you know, we're obviously going to struggle with our international allies and things of that nature after all of this, but like at the end of the day, for the people, and we're going to talk about younger men in the manosphere and like podcasts, but like everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump is like the masculine candidate and all of that shit. Bro literally cannot do anything on the world stage. Like he gets all hyped, like, but you're the only thing that you've done on an international stage is announce a trade deal with a country that we had a $12 billion trade surplus with. That's all you've done.
God, exactly. Like, oh wow, the United Kingdom. It's not like we wouldn't have gotten that fucking shit done anyways. They literally rely on us. They can't do shit without us.
Didn't we, all we did was make items coming into the United States more expensive, and they got cheaper for the British, if I'm not mistaken. Like our tariff rate went up to 10%, which makes everything we import from Britain more expensive, and theirs got cheaper.
Yep,
What did
that is
what did the
correct.
people win?
I mean, the 30% of
Freedom.
the country that's in the cult owns the libs because Donald Trump made a deal. But
Timeline, dude.
right, and yeah, it's just it's a struggle. It is not a fun situation. It's not being dealt with well by anybody involved. I will say Marco Rubio is probably, unfortunately, the most competent human being in the United States government and cabinet right now. So I'm happy that it's not like I'm happy that we don't have the RFK equivalent of a Secretary of State to deal with this. Like that is good. That it would have been real bad if it was someone else. So like, they got they got Sean Hannity to be Secretary of State since we seem to be hiring from Fox News only. It's like law firms that like in suits the law firm only hires from Harvard. Donald Trump only hires from Fox News.
Shout out Janine Pirro, man.
But
God fucking damn it, I hate it.
it's just like a very complex situation that like I'm sometimes bad at explaining, but like yeah, it's definitely something that I think needs to be more on the forefront because from a pure what happens to the average American perspective, prices are already going to go up. There's already so much uncertainty in shipping and logistics right now. If conflict breaks out with one of the biggest manufacturers of things in the world, and in trade routes, and like if the stories from Indian news media are true that we are attacked, like that they are attacking the ports, it's going to disrupt a lot of things and it's going to make everything even more expensive. I like a reason that things got really expensive in 2022 and Joe Biden struggled with the economy is like that conflict with Ukraine and Russia like raised the prices of wheat. Ukraine's one of the biggest wheat producers, and I don't think that people appreciate or understand the nuances and the raiment, like the effects that anything that happens globally causes. And I think Conrad brought this up, especially after COVID. I think some people realized how important our allies are and things of that nature. But I think that a lot of this country is still like, oh, why are we giving other countries money? Why is USAID a thing, right? This is why to prevent things like this from happening.
Yeah. Also, too, like your iPhone, they're moving manufacturing from China to India. Like it, just for the audience, like it will affect you. It will. So it's in everybody's best interest, like across the globe, if there are less conflicts, especially with nuclear powers.
100%. I mean, that's the one thing we need is more world peace, and we'll get there sooner or later, right? I hope.
100%.